All good? So we're going to get going, Jim, but they'll turn it down. Yeah. All good? All right, are we good to go? You sure? All right. G'day, guys. Welcome to another #AskJim. So if you're watching online, every training week, we've got a massive training group in, so it's really good to see Jim as well. With more than 100, how many? 120, 110 people?
Yeah, about 118, I think.
118 new people in training, which is fantastic as well. A great group of people too. What we're going to do though, Jim, is we're going to open up the floor as we do. For those who don't know, anyone can ask you a question and we're going to answer it unfiltered for 60 minutes. Anyone who asks Jim a question, okay, we'll get a prize at the end too, so there's your bribe to ask Jim anything you like. So who wants to be the first person? Just come up, do it, go for it. Don't put your hand up, let's go. And what do you reckon of his hair, Jim, before we get started? What do you reckon of that hairstyle? Did you ever have a mullet back in the day? What would you rate it?
No, he just needs more down here. Come on, there's the beard.
Other way around, there you go.
It's in the contract, you know, in the fine print. You've got to grow a beard when you're in gyms. Even the women. I know they complain about it, but
I will tell you this, is it Cade? Yeah. I will tell you this, Cade, that's the best mullet I've seen here in 13 years, and that's true.
Wow, thank
so
you.
Well done.
Awesome.
All right, Cade, go for it. Ask your question. Let's go.
All right. Obviously, you're not going to live forever. What's the plan for the business after you pass?
well, first of all, I may live forever, of course.
Well, hopefully, I hope you do.
There's a lot of progress in gerontocracy, and a lot of people with a lot of money are chasing it, and I intend to be front of the queue if it's possible. But what I have set up through my family trust is an organisation which actually will control my estate. Most of it will go towards my research foundation. A minority will actually provide for my children when they get married and have children of their own, and also my grandchildren.
Yeah, awesome.
And it'll be run by, the board will have a representative of franchisees in it. That's the plan. So franchisees will elect a representative to be on the board to actually help decide what happens to the overall business. So that's the plan.
You say reasons why though, Jim? Because I think the reasons why...
Well, the reason is that I don't want some shark to come along and rip my franchisees off.
Yeah.
But there is, as you know, there's a clause in the contract that says the majority control of gyms cannot be sold without the written consent of majority of franchisees. And that's put for that reason, not for myself because I don't intend to do it, but so my heirs can't do something like sell gyms to something like Retail Food Group, one of those sharks.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've got AI Gym as well, so don't worry about that. AI Gym will be in there.
Yeah, could you do an AI? Have you actually tried that one?
With you, I can make you speak and say whatever I want. Remember that one where I gave
Yeah, but can you actually get me to answer questions on the AI? Because there's so many videos.
Yeah,
you probably could do that.
Yeah, you could do it. Yeah. So it's not cost effective at the moment, but yes, you can do that. Yes.
But he intends when I stuff it, he intends to immortalise me in
yes,
silicon.
AI Gym, absolutely.
That's his plan.
Yeah, that's it. Go for it.
Hi Jim. Yesterday you mentioned that either when you started or shortly after you started, you were $35,000 in debt.
Yes.
So even in today, that's a lot of money, but it would have been a lot of money back when you started.
It was a fortune in those days. You just about buy a house with it.
How did you overcome negative comments from either your wife, your parents, any other close families, for you to persist in that, and instead of being told to go get a real job and give up like the lawn mowing?
Well, I don't remember anybody saying anything, to be quite honest, but if they did, I probably wouldn't even hardly notice it. I mean, honestly, I knew what I had to do. Also, actually, mowing lawns is not a bad sort of income. I was a pretty good mowing contractor. Yeah. I could make, back in those days, I think I was making about $600 a week when I first started my business, which if you look at it in terms of the time, this is back in 1982, wasn't bad. And as I progressed and as I started building up and having subbies and building up and selling lawn mowing rounds, I made a lot more than that. So I actually paid off the debt in about 2 years. And then I bought a house shortly after that. So it didn't take me long. It's a great business, the home service business. It really is. You start out with a debt, with nothing, pay off your debts, get going. We'll see some stories like that from people here, I reckon. Come into this business without much in the way of capital and very quickly build up. We reckon we've created more millionaires than any company in the history of Australia.
Cool. There we go. Good question.
Yeah, great question.
Good shit as well. Come up, guys. Ask Jim anything you like. Go for it.
Hello, Jim. What made you get into lawn mowing?
Because I love gardening. I just enjoy being outside. I love gardening. I love lawn mowing. I just enjoy it. You know what I do at the weekend for fun now, for my hobby? I go up to my farm and garden. And I dig. I've got a big veggie garden. We're planting fruit trees and all kinds of things. And I just love gardening. So that was obvious.
Yeah.
And that's the best advice to anybody. People ask me, what division do you want to go into? I say, what do you love doing?
And just part B, the worst mistake that you regret.
There are so many. Many years ago, my wife was running Foothills, and I let her go. She was just doing it as a manager, and that was a big mistake because it wasn't well run. We actually went from profit to a loss when somebody else took it over, and it caused great tension between us. So that's what's my worst mistake. But there are so many. Look, the thing that I tend to do, my worst kinds of mistake, is to take on things I don't really understand. Mm-hmm. Like going into a business that I don't know, like a trade exchange or building trailers or something like that. When I do things out of my own area of knowledge, I don't tend to do very well. And I tend to have this habit of racing into things. I hope I've got it under control now. Good question.
And check out the book as well. There's obviously a lot of open stuff in the book too, which is going on there. Good question.
Hello, Jim. I was surprised to find you have broad interests. So you also are a researcher, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I don't fully understand, but kind of you connected like epigenetics from biology to like social history things.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to do that? Actually, I'm also a medical researcher, so I'm very much interested in your area of research.
I started off looking at the reason for the rise and the fall of civilization. I was fascinated by the collapse of the Roman Empire when I was a teenager. I've been reading since I was like 14 on that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And when I went to university, I did my PhD, I was trying to get behind it and explain it. There was a change in character. And what I came to the conclusion of eventually, this change had biological root. It's to do with wealth and commercialism.
Uh-huh.
And so what then I've done is to develop a research program that's looking at the effect of things like mild food restriction on rats, and then looking at the epigenetic effects on the way their brains work, and effects on their hormones and things like that, things like dopamine receptors, to try and understand what went on and to work out a way to reverse that, which would have significant implications of mental health. So it started off in history, and now we mostly do it on rats and other rodents, but that's how it came.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very.
If I have a chance, I'd like
And
to read your book.
You're a history man yourself, are you?
Yeah, I'm interested in history. Yeah, and I'm also a medical research.
Good to
yeah,
find
so
you. I have a
I'm
chat about it afterwards if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, so
thank you.
That's a good question. So biohistory.org is Jim's research project. You can check it out. He's working on a new book as well called Baby Bus, which is sort of related.
Baby, the birth rate crisis.
Sorry, birth rate crisis we're going
That's
with.
coming
So
out
change.
later this year. In fact, it's pretty well written, but we're just doing a whole lot of researchers that are needed to fill it up, and that'll probably be about late end of the year.
And there's a big thing with Latrobe you're doing on Thursday as well, because we're going there too.
Yeah, we're setting up a separate institute within Latrobe University.
Okay, yeah.
We're currently spending
Impressive.
several $1 million a year on these research programs and getting some really, really interesting results.
Okay.
But keep an eye. If you go to jimpenman.com.au, you can actually get information from my newsletter that comes out.
It's a different type of it's his personal newsletter. We have a Jim's newsletter.
Yeah, personal newsletter.
It's a different one. It talks about
That's-
everything, politics, all this sort of stuff.
It's
Yeah, all my crazy
across
ideas about the
disciplines.
biohistory and the birth
Across
rate
all
and
disciplines. I can
my ideas
imagine.
about marriage and stuff. I'm a great expert in marriage. I've been divorced 3 times, so I can tell you what not to do, as a husband.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Stanley Yu. I come to support my wife Amy Shah in the bookkeeping session.
Good to hear from you, Stanley.
Thank you.
Cool, good question. Go for it.
Hi Jim, just expanding on old mate just said. I started reading your book and I was just curious, you went through what happened after the First World War, what happened after the Second World War, and in between, where do you see what do you see happening with what's going on in the world now?
Well, we're in a very dangerous downward phase. You can see the birth rates collapsing all across the world. The only OECD country with a positive, which has got more having more children than we need to replace ourselves is Israel. But you need 2.1 children per woman. The average across the OECD is about 1.6, which is about where Australia is. You know, in South Korea, it's 0.7. They're having a third as many children. So that lack of children, the declining work ethic, which is quite obvious, the decline in morale, the increase in unhappiness, in suicide, in death of despair. There's some really, really bad things going on, and we need to understand what's going on and work out how to reverse it. And you can do that if you understand the epigenetics behind it.
Thank you.
A bit of light reading for you when it comes.
Bit of light reading. So you're actually reading biohistory, are you?
No, I was just reading your book and it just...
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay.
That's a good question. Very good question. Can we go for it?
I'm just wondering if you have any tips for choosing a good territory, especially like I'm doing window and pressure cleaning. So, yeah, what makes for a good territory?
Good question. Never had that one.
Okay, that's good. You can actually you can ask for a list of jobs, of leads, sorted by territory. Your franchisor can give it to you, the person you're dealing with, or I can do it for you myself. So we say, okay, what are you thinking about? Where do you live for a start?
South Yarra.
South Yarra. Okay. The first thing I would do is look to where you live yourself as the top priority, because travelling is a big factor. If you even travel 15 minutes to get to your territory, you've got half an hour a day. If you can spend that time working, and bear in mind most franchises are flat out, you're better being close to home. But get a list. There's a thing called a leaves report, and and then you can ask for it to be done for a specified period by suburb. That'll tell you how many leads are coming in from each suburb. That's a good way to start. But I would start local. I would say South Yarra is a very affluent area, tends to have a lot of work.
Plenty of windows there in South Yarra.
Yeah, because it's actually harder to find franchisees in a place like South Yarra or Toorak, those rich suburbs, than it is in somewhere like, say, Cranbourne or Broadmeadows. So you'll probably find plenty of work. What division are you in? Window cleaning?
Window.
Yeah,
and
you'll
pressure cleaning.
probably find a relatively high level of work in those areas.
The franchisee I showed you today for the reviews, his territory is South Yarra, but he lives in Yarraville. So he's a good one probably to get onto, Tony, actually, because he's in the clean division. So, yeah. Good question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that one.
Cheers.
Cool. We've got a question, guys. Jim, please feel free to come up, ask him anything you like. Go for it.
Hi, Jim. In your laundry services, my question is, how come you haven't added shoe cleaning services as well?
Shoe cleaning services.
I think it'd be a difficult division to run, wouldn't it? Because the size of the job. See, laundry is like, what do you charge about?
$60 a bag.
$60 a bag. I don't know how much you could charge for shoes. And also, people like this have this kind of shoes, but you don't clean. So it's.
I mean, every customer maybe has 2 or 3 shoes, and it might be a good.
But the question is, how many dollars can you make from one customer? Like if you go and mow somebody's lawn, you can make $80. If you clean their house, you can make whatever, 60, 70, whatever it is. Even if you wash their windows, you can make good money. But how much could you make from cleaning the shoes? And bear in mind, you've got to turn up. So in actual fact, one of the best ways to look at what's a good division is to look at, to go into Google it and put this service in there and see how many sponsored ads there are. The more sponsored ads, the more valuable it is.
Gotcha.
I would suspect if you looked for mobile shoe cleaning, you wouldn't find any competitors at all. That's how we look at these things.
I've done the research already.
Have you? What have you found in research? Oh, no, Jim.
Jim's done the research.
On to it. Oh,
Good man. I like the way you're thinking.
very good.
We love the idea of new divisions. I've actually had 2 new divisions suggested to me today.
What ones?
It's to do with property maintenance and also to do with outshore sourcing work to overseas.
Oh, cool. There you go.
So the guy could be coming to training in June.
There we go.
Hey Jim, what's something you believed in when you first started Jim's group that you no longer believe in now?
That's a good one.
That's a very good question, actually. That really makes me
I don't think we
think.
had that one asked before.
I think the main thing is I underestimated how I was naive about my ability to run businesses I didn't understand, which, as I said before, is my biggest mistake, just jumping into things I didn't know. Like when I started Jim's group, I didn't think it was actually something that would go. I never thought it was the major thing. That's when I was mowing lawns myself, prior to the franchise especially. But I started trying other things which I thought had more future, like a computer shop or a holiday resort. But the thing is, I didn't know anything about those. but I understood my own business well, and I didn't understand that. So that's the biggest change.
Okay.
And I'm honestly still learning it. Even if I look back 6 months, I look at it and say, oh, how could you be so stupid as to do that? Really, happens all the time. And another 6 months, so I'll probably look back at what I'm doing now and say, how could you be so dumb as to do that? You keep on learning. Keep on making mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good, very interesting question.
Absolutely. Guys, come up and ask Jim anything you like. Come on, go for it. It's Mr. YouTube. I remember you now. Your face.
Hey, Jim. So I'm curious to know, how did you come up with all this idea of development while you were pushing your mower?
I didn't come up with ideas like Jim's group as a whole. When I was pushing my mower around, I was focused on what I was doing. So how can you save a half second turning the mower around a corner, going around a tree? How can I save 1 step to put my grass into a bag? How can I dig over the earth to be faster? How can I delight and amaze my clients more? It was very focused on what I was doing. I used to put a huge amount of effort in saying just doing the job better. And the more I did that, the better I got at what I was doing. How do I keep better records so that I can take less time in paperwork? That was what I was doing. I wasn't dreaming about, because I couldn't have imagined this.
Yeah.
I really didn't have notions about franchising back in those days. It was sort of almost forced on me. It was just focusing on the job. And that's what I find is the principle behind people being successful. It's not having grand ideas and ambitions. It's looking at what you're doing right now and saying, question, how can I do that better?
Yeah.
And they're the people that tend to succeed.
Yeah. And from that, I guess, how did you develop all your knowledge to be where you are now?
Well, by just doing things and making mistakes, to be pretty blunt about it.
Awesome.
I just tried things. I kept on trying it. I don't have a lot of skills in business. I'm not a particularly good manager. I'm not good with figures. I'm not good with social media. I'm not good with a lot of different areas. But I'm very inventive, very creative. My mind is very unorthodox. And that's why I came up with all these weird ideas about research and about Roman history and stuff. I'm just very... So anybody says to me, well, these are 3 different ways these things are always done. And I say, yeah, what about this way and this way?
Yeah.
That's kind of how my mind works. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I will just look at it and I'll say, I know nobody's done it before, but I think we should do this.
It's about feeling and instinct, you would say. Yeah.
And a lot of it's personal values, like the way that Jim's is set up to have empower franchisees is very unusual. It's really extreme to actually put so much power into the hands of franchisees. Nobody said for me to do that. The lawyer said I was crazy. They really did.
Yeah.
They actually advised me against it very strongly. Don't do that. You don't know what you're doing. And I said, well, that's what I think it should be run. I'd want something that I would want to join.
Awesome.
Good
Thank
question.
you very much.
Thanks for that. Next one, go for it.
G'day, Jim. Impressive training course. Thank you very much. I've learned about efficiencies today, and I've got 2 questions, so hopefully I can get away with 2 now and I don't have to sit back down and get up again. First one is around the systems. We've looked at Jim's online and the Jim's jobs.
Yes.
And one thing that sits in the back of my mind is around cyber security and protection of the franchisees, the franchisors, but the clients as well. And we probably didn't have time to get into that in any detail today.
Yes.
Are you able to explain what's in place to protect the privacy of the individuals, the clients, on all of those levels?
I don't know the technical details, but Eugene is our manager for all that area, particularly for security. He does also support and stuff. And he is an absolute fanatic about it. We constantly I get weird emails all the time about something that looks very suspicious, or I don't know what it is, and I send it off to IT and say, what is this? And it's so often it's one of those, they just put random fake attacks. So people in the staff learn not to click on things. I actually did once click on one that got hit by some Russian
Crypto locker, yeah.
Crypto locker, yeah. So I'm very careful. So we have Eugene is a fanatic, and he knows it technically very, very well. He's pretty well paid. He's a real top guy in that area, and he just focuses. The biggest problem, as you probably know, the biggest weakness is the individuals. It's people clicking on these scams, and they're getting more and more clever all the time. So, and there's nothing you can do about that. If somebody clicks on a wrong link, it does potential let somebody in. So you've got to always be guarding that, stopping the staff from clicking on wrong links, and then having systems in place to protect what's there, multi-factor authentication, all kinds of things.
Yeah, no worries. I get the stuff coming in and the interactive stuff, but a platform where I think it was explained to us that there's information that you can put in as a franchisee that no one else sees, but obviously there's an administrator and there's probably some background dashboard work and that kind of thing. I don't know if Eugene's the right person to talk to for that sort of detail.
He probably would be.
He probably would be. He'd tell you exactly how it's done.
Yeah.
But it's all to do with the back end of the system. It's all stored there somewhere.
Yep.
It's just stopping somebody getting to that. It's not through you. Your access isn't strong enough to be a problem. It's staff access that's more of an issue, especially those who have very deep level access.
We're conscious of, because it's a big PR disaster when like Optus or Medibank or someone's details are leaked. So we're very conscious of that before. With the booking form and all that sort of stuff as well. So we're pretty conscious of it. So
yeah, whenever those things arise, we look at it carefully, what happened and so forth. But some of them having astonishingly lax security, they really do. It's like that case recently where they do stupid things.
the superannuation fund ones.
Yeah,
those ones as well.
And you look at the mistakes they made, and they're quite serious. We actually have, I would think we have at least as good a security as very major companies. Because it's just an obsession, it really is. We know how dangerous the whole thing is.
Well, Jim's is a major company.
In terms of its
brand, it's probably more.
Brand and its database, yes. But in terms of our financial resources, no. If you compare us with something like Medibank or Telstra or something, we're tiny. We're a little minnow. It might seem a big company, but in actual fact, our turnover is probably less than $1 billion a year, which isn't big by the standards of major companies.
Yeah, okay.
And only a very small proportion that actually comes to us. So we don't have the resources that some companies do, but we do have a very, very strong emphasis on security.
Yeah, and from your systems, it looks like everything's solid. Like there's a solid platform for what you do. The other question I had was we've had some really engaging people, lecturers or people talking to us today, and one thing that ticked my mind was Matt this afternoon, who spoke about getting into it after his career in the police force and moving forward with his round and all of that. But the thing that really got me was his connection to people, and he's got a connection of people who were previous Jim's franchisees who have all now left. And what I'm curious about is do we know why people want to leave? If it's so good to be in it, why are they leaving?
Are they actually independents?
Yes, that's what Matt said today. There was a bunch of mowing contractors that had built up their businesses to a point and decided that their business no longer required the franchise fees, so I'm assuming they paid their exit clause fees and just went by themselves.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of staying in gyms if you get...
Oh, no. What I want to know is, do we know why people are leaving or why they've left?
Okay, well, obviously the reason people leave mostly is because they don't want to pay fees. Yeah. But there's two kinds of people that leave. You get some people who are just simply not good at business, and they think if I paid less fees, I'd be okay. They usually fail very quickly because they don't recognise the leads they get, and the support and the advice is crucial. And they'll tend to be out of business within 6 months. So, that's probably the majority. There are also some very good franchisees who give great service to clients. The clients love them. They've got a particularly regular customers. They keep them busy. They get a few referrals and so forth. They do well. They don't need it. The big difference between those and the people who do stay, and the people who stay are a lot larger volume. We only lose a small fraction to those who are good. But the benefit, if you are a good operator of staying with the system, is you do more than steady state. You can improve. Because what you do is you've got a business like this, and you can build up your customers, and you can do a split and take more local jobs, and then build more and more local jobs till you go into a street and you do 6 or 7 lawns at the same time, and you learn new techniques and you learn new equipment. So instead of saying, hey, I've got a good income, let's stay on that income forever, you say, I want to grow and grow and grow and grow. And if you look at the videos of the people who've made a fortune, and when I talk about the Millionaire Factory, it's those kind of people who use the system to constantly improve, just the way that I did. And for those people, it's very, very good value, because the more money they make, the less their fees are, proportionally speaking. If you're turning over, $2,000 a week, your fees are quite substantial. If you're turning over $20,000 a week, they matter a lot less. You'd hardly notice them. But then you see the benefit. Even the benefit of the brand. Like if you're going to quote a job, for example, and if you want to grow your business, if you turn up in a Jim's uniform, you can probably get at least 10% more than if you didn't. Well, when your fees are, for most franchises, only less than 6% of turnover, it's not hard to justify. So it depends on your level of ambition. Are you capable, and do you want to grow? Now, if you really don't see the benefit of the system, then go independent. We don't make it difficult. Of all the franchises I've ever heard of, we make it the easiest. We charge a small fee, about $5,000. To be honest, quite often we don't even chase it. We don't really worry too much about it, because it's not a big problem. The worst problem is actually people who just decide not to go in business. They just want to do something else. Well, the ones who fail, which is the worst things, that's terrible. The tiny minority, but it really upsets us. And there's some people who just say, like, I've had enough, or physically I can't cope with mowing lawns and building fences, or I want to retire, or I've been offered a brilliant job back in my old field, or I need to move overseas to look after a family. There's all kinds of reasons why they go.
Thank you. I want to come and fist pump you, but I'm not.
At the end we can. Yeah, I can do it now. You can do it now.
You're going to fist pump me. There you are.
Thank you.
Might have to get him to test the cyber security. Probably knows as much as you, Jim, as well. Have to chuck him in there.
How you going there, Jim? Just a question. Like a lot of others, we're buying existing franchises with customers.
Yes.
Has there been any reporting done when new franchisees take over, any drop-off in customers?
Oh, yeah. You will get some drop-off. The question is, if the business is a good business, you wouldn't lose 10%. You will lose some, but that's just part of it.
Do we have any reasons behind it all, or is it just they don't like the person?
Well, because if you're thinking that you want to put an end to somebody's service for whatever reason, and there's a change in operator, that's an excuse. Yeah. So if you've got somebody who's thinking, I don't really want my clouds cleaned or my lawn's mowed, or I've got somebody else able to do it, or running short of money, change over, okay, that's okay, we'll do it, because it doesn't break the personal bond. That's kind of like happens. Sometimes you get a situation where the vendor has, how can I put it, they have given an overly rosy picture of the business. And when the new guy turns up, there are issues. Now that's why we have a 45-day period in which the buyer actually has a look at the customers and confirms that they're all right. Now, if they're not, and if the drop-off rate is more than 10%, then there's some fairly heavy comeback money, which can come back to the system to advertise more, come back to the buyer. Okay. So we allow for that. But usually most runs are fairly accurate, but occasionally you get somebody who's really, a lot of their jobs is complete fiction, to be blunt. Hopefully not yours. It's not common. But
Thanks very much.
It is allowed for.
Yeah. Thanks again.
What division are you joining, Mowing?
Mowing.
Mowing, cool.
Yeah. It's a good thing to buy an established business, actually. I know that when I write my 1 month letter, anybody who's had an established business writes back to me and they have a great time. It's going well, they're getting the customers rolled in, they picked up a few new ones, so there's no paperwork guarantee issues. It's a very good start if you can buy a good established business.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good question.
Hi, Jim. I don't know if this is the first time that someone asks you, but with the Aboriginal development in WA, which is where I'm based, I learned that it's not many franchises in Perth. It's like a new market, everything. Will My daughter's family is Aboriginal, and they recently purchased a cleaning products, whatever. I'm not getting into that too much, but do you have something in place that for them see that the government can fund, like that the government can give money to the people that are the First Nation people?
Like a grant or
as
something
in,
like that, to build business or
yes,
something?
as in me, in a business, in my business, if I get that sorted, will I... is that clear enough? Oh, sorry, it's hard in my mind.
We are totally blind to any ethnic or any other consideration. It's not like a situation where you're going to put a certain number of people on from a certain ethnic groups.
Yeah.
We have to choose people who've got definite business skills, like good attitude. That is the first consideration. It's no good having somebody who is simply a disadvantaged person because they haven't got the skill to run a business, because it's only hurtful to them to fail.
Yeah.
We do have pretty good ways of getting finance for anybody who's a good operator. Unless they've got a really bad credit rating, we can normally get money for them in some way or other. So as far as government funding, I would say it's not very useful, to be blunt, because if you're a good operator, we'll find some way of getting you in.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe tell Jim a bit more after that.
Yeah.
We'll sort it out.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, go for it.
Hi Jim, how's it going? Thanks for the week, has been great. Please don't get it wrong. The way I'm gonna ask this question is the reason I'm gonna give a bit of background. The reason I'm making these questions because I had a family circumstances, and obviously we always have to talk about succession, and in fact affects a lot of people, and everything is about Jim, and you are the main caretaker, but no one is forever, and we just have to think, I think, as a group, as a family, as an organization, what are the things that are being put in place to make sure that this great environment and this great support that you as individual put effort every day, what are the things that are being made when eventually you won't be here anymore, and which will also give us a lot of hope that things will be the same, and we will keep, as you said, you guys have to vote. If I'm never going to sell it, and without the voice of use, that's not going to happen. But is there other things, and there was like, don't have to worry about it, or I don't know, I'm new into the picture, but I think it's just giving a bit of comfort for someone that's starting, and like how, just...
I'll give you some comfort, all right? Jim plays squash, he's 73, I'm 36, and he beats me. So he goes pretty well. So
that's good.
Oh no,
I'm not good, but I'm not good.
I'm sure. And that's the thing that we want to talk about the least, because
No, it's a fair question. Look, I'll probably live. You can go on Google and you can check how long you're supposed to live. and if you answer certain questions, like you say, chronic smoker, down like that, or regular exercise, up like that.
Yes.
You watch your weight, how much do you drink, this kind of stuff, marital status, work, everything. Every question that I ask, it raises my length of life. I've got about as long as you could possibly, lifespan you could possibly have, apart from genetics, which is only a minor part. So I'll probably live another 20 years. I expect to be fairly active. You've got people like Rupert Murdoch and Warren Buffett who are very active in their 90s.
I agree, I believe you're going to go,
After that, I've got a board to be set up, including representatives from Jim's franchisees who will govern the country, and I've also govern the company.
You never know in 20 years, Jim, might not, you can't do any worse.
We might be that successful. We'll do a takeover bid for the federal government, but anyway. But, and I put this clause in the contract that stops the business being sold without the written consent of a majority of franchisees. Look, I can't rule the country from beyond my grave. I mean, Joel tends to make a cyber Jim to be able to answer all the queries.
It won't be too far away.
That's what he's asking for. There's so much of me on tape. But I'll do everything I can. That's all I can say.
Of course,
Because to me, the thought that if I was gone, somebody would come along and rip you guys off, is absolutely the most appalling. It's like the risk of some of my children being killed or something like that. It's just absolutely unimaginably terrible. And I'll do everything I can to protect you when I'm not all around. Maybe there'll be better ways to do it in the future, I don't know. But that's my aim. It freaks me out. The thing that makes me most angry is when franchisors rip off franchisees. And honestly, it wouldn't be that difficult to actually make a lot more money. I'll just give you an example, okay? I could put an extra fee in a contract, call it a technology fee or whatever, charge an extra $45 per week per franchisee, as an example, all right? Once that go through the system, I would double the profit I take from gyms, double it, okay? And that's just one example of the sort of things that could be done. There are many, many other things that I could do that would draw a lot more money from the business. I don't want to do that because it's not making a whole lot of money is not my major concern. They asked me, I was interviewed by somebody from Forbes
today, yeah.
Just today, yeah. And he says, one thing I said to him is, I'm a bit puzzled. Forbes is about money. I said, the search for wealth isn't even in my top 10 priorities. So
it does sound a bit too good to be true sometimes, you know, and your generosity is what sometimes, something that I was thinking about, maybe this is, you know, it could be too good. And if
that's why we do so much content. So all the stuff you're hearing
Yeah.
now, no one knew about until 6 years ago, which is why we do so much TikTok and podcasts and videos. So it's the same messaging if you watch all the stuff.
You've got to understand what is my aim in life. That's one of the things he asked me. We actually, towards the end of the interview, he asked me, and did a video actually, said, what are your aims in life? What are you after? What's your purpose in life? And, you know, rich people have this life, I'm going to be richer than somebody else, which is a pathetic aim. It doesn't make you happy. I have 3 goals. One of them, my research foundation. That's very important. It could change the world. It could change people's lives for the better. Second thing is my franchisees, my people, my extended family. I want you guys to be successful. I want you to be looked after. And third is my family, my children. Okay? Those are my goals. Now, having an obscene amount of wealth wouldn't make any difference to any of those. My children I don't want my children to be trust fund kids. It's very damaging. I've never brought them up rich.
Thank you.
They sort of theoretically knew that we had money, but they sort of said, well, yeah, but where's the mansions? Where's the expensive cars? You know, Dad goes around some crappy old car. Where's the clothing? Where's the overseas holidays? Where's all this stuff that rich people are supposed to have? You don't see it because we don't live like that. In fact, of the money I take from the business, I give away about 90%. But to me, that's a very rational thing. First of all, because I believe in it, but also because if you look at what makes people happy, it's not having more and more money. It's not having more and more stuff. The biggest thing you can do with money, and this is what science tells us, is give it away to a cause that you're involved with. That's what I do. I give away 90% of what income I draw for it, I give it away. And it's not, I guess it's altruistic in a way, but it's also sensible because I'm a very happy man. I live a very meaningful life. I have a wonderful wife. I have great kids. I have a great bunch of franchisees and franchisors and staff. I have a very meaningful life. So it's altruistic in some sense, but it's also very rational in a way. And I would say that to anybody too. If you're focusing on getting more and more money as your main cause in life, that's a really miserable reason to live. And it's not going to make you happy. You know, I knew a guy who was brother of I didn't know him actually, but a very close friend of mine, his brother was wealthy, considerably wealthier than I am, committed suicide. This guy just killed himself because his family was stuffed, his life was stuffed. How much money he had, it couldn't buy him anything worth living for. And that's not that uncommon.
That's it.
Great question.
Thanks for the answer. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Good question. All right, let's come up next. Go for it. You got Jim fired up. That was a good one.
Thanks for having me.
That was a good one. Very energetic and passionate about it.
My question is sort of a confusion that I have, sort of a little bit of a doubt about the division I've chosen. After the past couple of days of training, I sort of realized that some of most of the modules and the sessions that we've been through and been trained are sort of designed around the businesses that are sole traders. By sole traders, I mean that are done by one trade. With some of the new divisions that are coming through, like building renovations, bathroom renovations, these are the businesses that are not done on the same day, can't be done on the same day, and are required to be done by different sort of trades that are not in the house. Like, if you're in building, like, if you want to do excavation, concreting, bricklaying, or those sort of things, doesn't exist inside the brand. Do you have any plans or strategy to bring in all the trades in the house, and is there any future plan on changing maybe some of the training sessions to accommodate more around the businesses that require to be done by different trades?
We would love more trades. The biggest problem that we have, though, is not so much thinking about ideas for divisions, it's finding someone to lead the division. You've got to have somebody driving it who knows what they're doing. I mean, laundry, somebody who about 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, it's got 120 franchisees. It's not a trade I know, but there's other ones that have started more recently, like bathroom renovations, just started off.
That's what I mean, like, they just are starting, but they're not type of businesses that are only involve one trade anymore. The bathroom renovation, you're
like an organiser. You get a tiler and you've got to get this.
You need a tiler, you need a plumber, you need an electrician, you need waterproof.
But you can, you see, you could use Jim's people, you could use handymen and so forth, but you can also, the focus is on the individual franchisee. A franchisee will use who's best for them. Now, if they happen to know somebody who's a really good plumber, for example, they'll use them. They could use Jim's plumbing, and they often do because they understand the guarantees we provide, but it's not required. Most of what you need is the franchisee prepared to do it, and that's the person who's got to be responsible. And if they find somebody who's good at what they do, well, then they use them. I'll just give you an example, okay? I use Jim's for a lot of things, lots of things, changing tyres and antennas, and I get the cleaning done at my farm, for example, by Jim's Cleaning, and I could keep on going. I've used many, many different services, conveyancing, all kinds of things like this. Okay, but there's a couple of things that we don't use Jim's for. For example, my wife has a cleaner who's a kind of somebody she knows who comes in and cleans the house once a week. Now, that's not Jim's. Why? Because she knows somebody who's good, and Rebecca is great. So even though I use Jim's a lot, I don't use them exclusively. I use the best person for the job.
What division are you thinking of joining, sorry?
Bathroom.
Bathroom. So Steve, we had the other day, so he's got 28 franchisees. He's 28 years old, been going for 3 years. Have you watched the interviews with the bathrooms franchisees?
Yes.
Yeah, you have, yeah. So you're saying that we should be using more Jim's plumbing and electrical in the trades, or we should be training you more on that sort of stuff? Or
I understand about the person that has to be running the as a franchisee to run the business, but I kind of feel like it's more like a project management.
Yeah, it is almost in a way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're right.
Roll up to to work with a big Jim sign van or ute or whatever. Correct. But all the trades that are coming through the house, they're not Jim's.
But you've got to bear one thing in mind. First of all, most of our trades franchisees are very busy already, and they get a very high hourly rate. If you use Jim's people, they will tend to charge you more. Now, they're very good. On the other hand, if you're using people all the time and you know somebody who's not Jim's and therefore who's cheaper, but who's reliable to you, that makes a lot of sense to use them instead. Because our great thing is we're a great company to use when you don't know anything, when you want to use a service you've never used before. But if you are a contractor who's using people all the time, you can find out who the reliable operators are. My wife's a builder and she has that. She has a plumber that she knows she can call on to do certain things. And she has different people that she calls on there because she knows them by reputation. So as a project manager, which is what you are in your division, you'll simply make contacts and find good people. Jim's or otherwise. Now you may well use some Jim's people, but you may well use independents. But you'll know them. The main thing is they're good operators, isn't it?
Thank you.
Good question.
Good question.
Good leadership. Steve, go for it.
Hi Jim. So my question is, I'm in the pool care division, and pool care has one of the highest franchise fees. It's about 77,000 to set it. And also then we need vehicles, etc. So, it costs 130,000 also. Anyways, in terms of our lead fees, in pool care, I think the lead fees are around $40 or slightly more. So I'm thinking that our investment is quite huge, and even then our lead fees are close to $40. So I was hoping for it to be more equitable, so that it's feasible to run a business?
I can't speak for that division because I'm not quite aware how it works. But I will tell you one thing about ongoing fees. The top priority is that the franchisees make money. Now, in some divisions, it's fairly easy to find work. And I would think something like fencing, for example, very easy to find work by comparison. You don't need to spend a lot. Dog wash is another one similar like that. When you've got a division which work is hard to find, it makes very good sense to have higher fees. Because the point of it is this. Let's just say you've got a choice. You can pay an extra $300 per week to have high fees and keep really busy, or you pay $300 less and in fees per month, but let's say you make $500 less in work per week because you haven't got enough work. So the top priority, the one crucial thing is, what do we need to spend to keep you busy? And that can be a combination of advertising and lead fees. And the thing about having a high lead fee is this. If you charge a high lead fee, there's a very strong incentive on the franchisor to keep you flat out. And the more busy you are, because pool cleaning is quite lucrative if you have enough work. And the busier you are, the more likely you are to be happy, even if your fees are high. Does that make sense?
It does.
And
it's
sometimes
got a
we'll have a
mobile
division
shop,
where
I think, yeah.
there's not enough work coming through, and we'll deliberately change the fee structure to put more fees on for new franchisees. Because overall, more fees makes you less happy, but more work makes you much happier. And that compensates for it.
Okay, so I've got a second question too.
Yep.
So we get told that there's a lot of unserviced leads that are there, and what if we were to do some work outside of our territory? So unserviced leave, if it gets left for some time or a long time, the job's probably gone.
Yes.
So have you ever considered possibly reducing the unserviced lead fees, which has been there for weeks, the job's possibly gone, so that to say 60% or 50%, so that it's not a big hit on our pockets. When we go, we quote, and then we don't get the job.
The unserviced leads for what?
For say any division.
Pool care service.
It's a self pool care service.
So for pool care, you want to be paying less because it's unserviced.
Yes.
Well, if you don't get onto an unserviced lead very quickly, it's almost certainly gone, so it's worth virtually nothing. I wouldn't say it's worth taking an unserviced lead for any amount of money after a day or so, because there's almost got no chance of getting it.
Exactly, yeah.
So
there is an option on, I think it's Jim's Online, where we can switch on unserviced leads and they will come to us.
Yes.
And then we have to pay for those leads. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes, but what happens in that case is what you do is you get a text. It'll tell you, here's a pool care lead, or it's in this suburb, all right, which is just over the boundary from where you normally operate. You look at that and say, hey, I'm just over in that area, I'll grab it. But the key is you grab it on the spot. You ring back the office straight away and say, can you allot that lead to me? The client was just told 5 minutes ago, nobody's available. You ring back 5 minutes later and say, hey, I can look after you. In the meantime, they haven't got anybody else. But if you left that for 24 hours, they'd found somebody else.
Gone, yeah.
That's the issue. So you don't think you can wait and pick it up 24 hours later. It's gone.
Okay.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got 10% chance of getting it, but very unlikely.
Yeah. So my understanding of unserviced lead is that that job hasn't been picked up yet. Is that what unserviced?
If there's an unserviced lead, the client has been told, sorry, we don't have anybody available.
Okay.
They've been told that.
Oh.
In other words, go and ring somebody else. That's why the speed is really important. You cannot delay on that. You can get told by email if you like, but the trouble is by the time you see your email, it's probably the end of the day. That's why you need to have it texted to you. And then you can keep an eye, oh, that one there, yes, I'll go for that because I'm just near the border.
All right.
Or the other thing you look at is if you're getting a whole lot of unserviced leads in an area, you say, well, maybe I should take that area or take that particular service that I'm knocking back. It's good to keep an eye on the unserviced leads for sure for that reason.
Okay. Thank you.
Very specific questions.
Yeah,
Before we have an franchise all there.
Very, very clever question.
Guys, got some time for more questions, guys, for a couple more, I reckon. So if you've got some questions for Jim,
yeah,
feel free to come up
through.
and ask him. Go for it. Don't be shy. Go for it.
Here's a dog watch guy with a magnificent beard.
Oh.
The real Jim's beard.
Thank you. Fellow ginger, I like it.
Yeah, that's true.
Evening, Jim. Evening, Joel. All right, I'm going to change it up a little bit, Jim. If you could go back in history to any time and be a spectator for a day, when would that be?
Classical Athens during the late 5th century. If I can try and avoid the time when they got plagues and stuff, I would love to actually, I'd have to learn classical Greek first, otherwise there wouldn't be much point, but I'd go back and I'd be I'd meet people like Thucydides and Themistocles, actually a bit earlier, or I could watch the building of the Parthenon, or I could see the assembly of citizens. I couldn't vote because I'm not a citizen. Yeah, I'd go back to Athens in the Golden Age. I love Athens. It was an amazing city. A few tens of thousands of free men. What they produced is unparalleled in the history of the world.
Yeah, amazing.
What about yourself?
Well, yeah, wasn't expecting.
Do you know what, it's relative because it does change for me all the time. It's hard to say. I'd like to go back to the Big Bang. I'd like to go back to, but that's my perception.
If you actually the Big Bang, I tell you it would be uncomfortable because you'd be blown apart in smithereens.
No, hold on. Remember, you're a spectator. You can't be affected. You're just there to visualise and just see. So, and I'll have a follow-up question. If you could have a dinner party with 5 people from history, dead or alive, who would they be?
Well, can I understand them?
It could be anybody. Any single person.
Do I have an automatic translation system?
Yes.
Because a lot of them would
all
not be.
All those things could be in place. Who would you have sitting around that dinner table?
I would probably similar. In Greek history, I would be just fascinated. I've been entranced by Greek history since I was like 14 years old, and I would think of people from that kind of era to maybe biblical figures too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to actually see what Moses was really like.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to actually catch up with Jesus when he was wandering around the countryside and just see what he was saying. I mean, we know a fair bit, but you know, we don't know everything. Or you know, what was Jeremiah like, or one of the prophets? I mean, are probably pretty prickly characters, or Elijah, those kind of guys. Mm-hmm. What was it like when the Exodus from Egypt? What was going on?
Amazing.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
It's a great question, though. I really like that one. I'm going to definitely give you first go at the prize. That question.
Very well delivered as well. Very well delivered.
Thank you.
Right, got time for a couple more, guys. If you've got a question for Jim, please feel free to come and ask. It's a great opportunity to ask.
He was an interesting guy. We were talking at dinner too, I must say.
He delivered it really well, actually. Nice pauses and answers.
Yes, yes.
Very, very well. Come up and ask a question for Jim, guys.
Don't go too far. We've got a prize for you.
Getting another beer.
How you going, Jim? When you were starting off, who did you sort of draw inspiration or motivation from?
Not any particular person, mainly from books. I don't really have business mentors in a personal level, but I'm a voracious reader. I would probably read on average a couple of books a week. So I'm constantly learning from leaders. You know, people like Ray Kroc, for example. Now, I never met Ray Kroc, never even seen him, but I understand what he did when he launched McDonald's, and that was part of the idea behind what I did in franchising. So yeah, more distant. There are wonderful, wonderful books on business. In fact, if you go into jimpenman.com.au, you'll see a book list with some of my favourite books. And one of the best things I could suggest you could do is to have a look at those. So many people ring me and they want me to actually have a talk to them and explain my business philosophy and stuff and how to be successful. And I say, really, you can do so much better. Or somebody wanted to spend the day with me, which would be pretty boring because they just see me answering emails and stuff. So I said, but read the stuff that I've written, look at the podcasts that we've done, and just look at the information from people that's really in a distilled form, and you can learn so much. So I think, look, a personal mentor is great, and that's what the franchise system gives you, your franchisor. But beyond that, virtual mentors, you've got access to the greatest minds in the world in business. And it costs trivial amount of money. And you can learn about what people like Elon Musk has done. And Elon Musk is a very flaky character in so many ways. But as a technologist, he is incredible. What he's done with SpaceX in particular is just extraordinary. What has he done? How did he do it? How did Steve Jobs work so well? What did Jeff Bezos do to build Amazon? What were his principles of behaviour? Look at the growth of Netflix. There's wonderful books like No Rules, Rules by Reed Hastings, and the other one by Mark Randolph, That Will Never Work. Those kinds of stories are magnificent. There's so much brilliant stuff around about business and about living a really good and effective life that you can learn so much from virtual mentors. And those books are a terrific place to start. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've just read that, or listened to it actually for the second time over. It's a fantastic book. It's so good. It's how to be successful in life. There's distilled wisdom in that of a man who really knows what he's taught, deeply ethical character building. There is so much great stuff around. My principle is I love music, but most of the time when I'm in my car or doing something or exercising, I don't do music. I listen to a talking book. And I'm always learning great ideas. I'm listening to a talking book now about Robert Moses, who was the Parks Commissioner in New York State. You know, what he did and how he did it and how he managed the politics and stuff. It's a fascinating story. I'm learning all the time. My mind is always growing to new ideas. And amazingly often, you find something, you read a book and you say, wow, I can apply that, or I can learn that.
How many audiobooks do you get through a week, Jim, on Audible?
I would average, I would read or listen to a couple of books a week.
Yeah.
This one's about 50 hours, so it's going to take me a while to get through it.
So more than around 100 audiobooks a year you listen to, yeah.
Something like that, I would say, yes.
I think you're one of Amazon's top users because they sent you 10 free credits, which they don't
They
do
keep
for
on giving
anyone.
me free stuff because I buy so much. But also, I also buy for my kids. It was one of the things for my children. There's 2 things I don't stint on. I'm very stingy. You know, I went into the supermarket today to buy milk, and I went into Coles. I usually go to Woolworths. And you know what I found out? The long life soy milk is 10 cents cheaper in Coles than it is in Woolworths. I know where I'm going in future. So I'm as scungy as all hell when it comes to buying. I'll always go to the bottom shelf. Where's the no-name brand? My wife complains bitterly about that.
No brands.
But there's 2 things that I will spend on without limit. One of them is fruit and the other is books. And I buy books for my kids. If they ever want to read any book, I just say, that's okay, put it on my Amazon account or I'll order it for you. No limit to books. Because it's not a big... And those are things that feed the mind as well as fruit feeds the body. Vegetables is good too, but fruit is great.
There you go. We've got time for one more question, guys. If you want to get... Who's the lucky last? Yeah, come up and ask. Go for it.
One of our very cute little smaller attendees. We've got some wonderful kids, very well behaved too.
So this is Agnes, so guys. But I was going to ask, I am very big on charity work, and
Yes.
I have done so much charity work in my life so far, and it's a big passion of mine. So I just wanted to know, like, have you done any projects in charity, and what would have been, like, if you have, like, what would have been like your favourite one, and like why?
I have a very clear sense of my life of what it should do, what God wants me to do, and that is involved with my research. So I have a very simple thing. It's either my research or it's tithing, which is a biblical injunction. That's it. That's what I spend on. I don't give a cent to charity any other way because I want to focus on the areas that I believe can have the biggest impact. As I said before, I actually in practice give away more than 90% of my actual income I draw from the business. Partly to tithing, but mainly to my research project. That's what I do. And I think that's a very important principle. When you're giving, it's important not to scatter it. People will come up with things, there'll be some sort of a stand, somebody will be selling this particular thing, or and it all sounds very great, but when you're giving, the best thing to do is to give in a way that you've carefully analysed where can I have the most impact. It's the same principle as Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, which is absolutely brilliant because he says, where can I use my money to have the maximum impact on people's lives? And that's why things like bed netting and so forth, or better toilets and stuff. What he does is magnificent. So I love what you do. It's great. When you do things, if you like, let us know what you're doing and how you evolve with it, and we'll do some videos. We like to support that and to affirm it.
I have already some plans because I do work with RSPCA, so I was going to venture into there and do a bit of a drive for them. And where I live at the moment, we've just done up a pound as well, so I was going to.
Yeah, it's great. It's good, terrific. We love these stories, actually. I know one guy in South Australia who's a franchisee who actually works 3 days a week mowing lawns. He's a mowing guy. The rest of the time he works with the homeless. And there's others who are doing things like they're fostering children. We have some wonderful stories and we want to encourage that. There's people who actually have a part-time franchise so they can act as a pastor of a church. He's very well behaved so far.
He looks that camera very badly.
He loves the limelight, future actor.
Yes. Yeah, big personality.
But anything like that we support, so we do photos, videos.
We do, it's wonderful. If you're doing anything at all, let us know and we'll support you. We can build interest in what you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Cool. So thanks for the questions, guys. What we're going to do now before we wrap it up is Jim will pick his 3 favourite questions, and what that means is they can come up and pick anything they like first, besides the laptop, and anything else they can take. And then anyone else who asks Jim a question, please come up and you get a prize as well. Now, we'll say as well, there's a massive rush for photos on Friday. It's a bit dim in the lecture theatre. If you want a photo now, Jim, hand me your phone. Under the light here, it's a lot easier.
All right.
To do as well.
I love the back in history section. I think about a better question now. Come and get.
Which one was that? The gentleman here with the beard?
Yeah,
no worries. Cool. Now, you've got multiple options. So you got either a $20 gift card or you can take anything from here. It's up to you.
I'm going to take the goat shirt.
Awesome. Love it.
Wow. Okay.
Good man.
I saw that today.
I love the question about cybersecurity. Who said that?
Yes, gentleman in the front.
That's an unusual question, and that's
very tough question.
Very relevant question too.
What would you like? Take anything you like.
Kids love them.
Go for it. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No problem. What was the next one there, Jim? Jim? Hang on.
Sorry. Yeah. The question was, I never had, this is also an unusual question. What did you believe when you started off, Jim?
That was the gentleman with the beard there.
But you no longer believe?
Yeah, that's Jim.
That's a very clever question.
The Lacoste.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Pick anything you like. And if you did ask a question as well, come and see me. You can take the rest in. I've got some cards as well.
Yeah.
These cards.
Yes.
Go for it. No worries. Cool.
Good on you.
All right, awesome, guys. That's us done. Thank you for attending. Your questions, we appreciate it. If you ask the question of Jim, come see me now. You can take anything you like from here. First come, first serve. I've got some cards here.